Welcome to Edge Media Source. The Raw Nerve will be starting immediately after our network news.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Barbara Klein. Thousands of flights are canceled across the country because of wintry weather, leaving many travelers frustrated for yet another day. The tracking website FlightAware.com estimates nearly 2,200 flights have been canceled nationwide as of this afternoon. It follows 2 days of similar travel disruptions. NPR's Paul Brown is at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport outside D.C.
When I dropped a passenger at Reagan National for a flight out, the crowds weren't huge, but neither was the air traffic. It seemed at least a quarter of flights were canceled and more were being added every minute to the airport's electronic billboards. My passenger went through security and then started text messaging me. Raleigh flight canceled, Nashville canceled, Pittsburgh canceled. And on it went. 2 hours after boarding, the passenger I dropped off was still waiting for the plane's wings to be de-iced, but she reported the flight crew had announced it was still too cold and wet to de-ice. That's the kind of day it's been for air travelers affected by the storm systems, a day of delays and cancellations rippling outward as planes can't fly to their scheduled destinations. Paul Brown, NPR News, Washington.
Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel wrapped up a visit to Afghanistan today, offering troops a morsel of optimism about the Pentagon's financial straits. Hagel told Marines at Camp Leatherneck a possible budget agreement in Washington may let up on some of the automatic spending cuts that have led to cuts, reductions, and shrinking pay raises. Hagel heads to Pakistan tomorrow. Wildlife officials have ceased their rescue efforts for a pod of whales that swam into shallow water in the Florida Everglades. NPR's Nathan Rott reports the decision was made after wildlife officials lost sight of the surviving whales.
Early last week, a pod of whales was spotted by a fishing guide in a remote section of Everglades National Park. The area they were swimming in was shallow, so shallow that many of the estimated 51 whales in the pod became beached. At least 22 of those whales have died. 4 were euthanized as wildlife officials tried to push the rest into deeper waters. Short-finned pilot whales usually live in deeper, colder waters, but it's common for them to become stranded. The national park spokeswoman said that even after they're rescued, they tend to re-beach themselves. The National Park Service's aerial and boat survey teams couldn't locate the whales. They are hopeful that they moved into deeper waters. Nathan Rott, NPR News.
In Ukraine, hundreds of thousands of people poured into the streets of Kiev today, demanding President Viktor Yanukovych resign for refusing to sign a deal on economic ties with the European Union, accusing him of aligning with Russia. Protesters are blockading key government buildings with cars, barricades, and tents. Further heightening tensions, a group of protesters toppled a landmark statue of Soviet leader Vladimir Lenin. Today's massive demonstration is the latest in nearly 3 weeks of protests. This is NPR. Gas prices continue to creep up.
They're up 3 cents in the past 2 weeks to $3.28 per gallon. And this is a total of 6 cents in the past 4 weeks.
Industry analyst Trilby Lundberg, who attributes the slow but steady increase to the ripple effect of rising crude oil prices. The latest report from UCLA economists says the U.S. economy and labor market are expected to pick up next year. As Danielle Carson reports, the gains are projected in spite of what the study calls the government's self-inflicted wounds.
UCLA's fourth quarter Anderson Economic Forecast finds the U.S. economy is growing, despite headwinds like the government shutdown and the bungled rollout of Obamacare. Many economists expected the shutdown to hobble growth. Instead, GOP clocked in at 3.6% in the third quarter. Forecast co-author Jerry Nicholsberg is expecting modest but steady growth next year.
We are going to gradually improve, and that'll be based on the need for housing, the need for replacing automobiles. Those seem to be growing at a little faster rate.
The report says that should put the economy on track to keep adding 200,000 jobs a month, and that should lead to more consumer spending, the engine of economic growth. For NPR News, I'm Danielle Carson.
Imagine there's no heaven.
Well, for those of us of a certain age, it's hard to imagine 33 years ago today, John Lennon was shot and killed as he and his wife Yoko Ono were returning to their New York apartment after a recording session. He was 40 years old and, along with the other Beatles, had changed rock and roll. I'm Barbara Klein, NPR News in Washington.
Make a difference in your community and volunteer at Kitsap Humane Society. We have opportunities for everyone and need help in all areas of the shelter. You can clean, feed, and help socialize animals, or answer phones, greet customers, and help run special events and fundraisers. KHS volunteers also lead programs including our foster program, canine training, and animal-assisted therapy. If you are interested in volunteering at Kitsap Humane Society, visit our website at kitsap-humane.org.
I'm Elaine Terso with Elaine Terso Photography. I've partnered with Ish Vintage Clothing, the Oxford Suites, and Parties by a Perfect Place to create our unique boudoir, glam, and pinup parties, which is perfect for a girls' night out or bachelorette parties. You choose your theme, get your hair and makeup done, play dress up for the evening, and then receive an accordion booklet of your photos, plus an 8x10 of your favorite photo. For parties or 7 or more, the hostess is free. For more information about our unique parties, visit my website, ElaineTersophotography.com.
Bremerton Bar and Grill is your new neighborhood bar and grill. At Bremerton Bar and Grill, they're an American-style, family-friendly restaurant that offers spectacular outdoor dining, happy hours twice a day, 18 draft beers, award-winning menus, and fast, friendly service. Need space for a private party? Reserve the Brad Johnson Private Dining Room and dine in a real bank vault. Bremerton Bar and Grill, 190 Pacific Avenue, right across the street from the ferry terminal in downtown Bremerton.
Brothers Power Sports has been a locally owned family business in Bremerton since 1949. From new and pre-owned motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, boats, and watercraft, to parts and service and apparel. Brothers Power Sports is committed to being your source for all your motorsports needs, and they're a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Brothers Power Sports, 5205 First Street in Bremerton, and online at brotherspowersports.com. Stop in and feel the difference at Brothers Power Sports in Bremerton.
Heather Madden, former machinist, wins success as a skilled professional rock star.
No more working just the old machine shops for me. Being the boss of my own professional rock band has improved my life in every way, and I owe it all to the cool gear at Kitsap Music.
What do you want? Substantial spare time? Groupies? Leather pants? Use only certified cool products from Kitsap Music.
Hey, St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to send a quick shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all of your concrete needs. They can do pathways, walkways, driveways, you name it. You need a new foundation, you're going to do an add-on, give them a call, 731-9812 or 649-0987. Again, that's 731-9812 or 649-0987. Pacific Northwest Artisans, all of your concrete needs.
And welcome to this week's episode of The Raw Nerve, only on EdgeMediaSource.com. You can give us a call at 253-617-1440 if you happen to be on Skype, or you can just log on to the page and leave your comments in the chat room. Now to your host, ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Susan C.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. I hope you all having a great Sunday. Isn't it chilly? It's a little chilly out there. I'm not hearing anything.
You're not?
No, I'm not.
That's so cool.
Left ear, I'm not. Yeah. But I hope you all having a great weekend. Did you have a nice week?
Sure.
Sure. If you say so, if you're going to ask me to put me on the spot, then yeah, I had a great week. Yeah.
It was cold.
It's been cold. It has been so.
Winter has shown up.
Which is really odd around here. This early, I mean, it's only the 8th of December, okay? This early, it's not usual. Our average temperature normally is in the 40s, like low to mid 40s. We're looking at low to mid 20s, low 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. I had made a comment the other night how cold it was outside when I was leaving my other job.
Uh-huh.
And someone posted back on Facebook, actually, at that time, we were the same temperature as Moscow.
Really?
Russia.
Whoa. The motherland. Oh, and they're cold over there. They send people there to be mean.
Very cold.
Well, just to let y'all know, joining me on the other side of the glass here is Bad Boys Dynasty. How you doing, darling?
Doing just jipper.
Turning the buttons and making me sound good. Well, trying. Yeah, we all try.
I do what I do when I do.
Just to let you know, I was curious about last night because it was cold last night. It was so freaking cold.
It was beyond cold.
I put on Facebook. I said, you hear that tink? That's I froze my tuchets off.
Yes.
And I need my tuchets back. Thank you very much. If you find it, mail it, care of the station. Yeah. I'll accept charges. Oh, Lord. But I got curious about it, and apparently last night we saw overnight temperatures of 19 degrees.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, I know there are people, I put on Facebook, we're down to, 19, 20 degrees. Yeah, it's -8 here. Yeah, I lived in Virginia for a while, too, I know. I remember. But that doesn't make it any easier to take when you're acclimated to this. And we're really not acclimated to this. This is very, very cold.
Yeah,
this is odd.
This isn't for down here.
No, this is not standard or normal or what you'd expect to run into. Yeah, but there's been a cold front of ice and sleet, snow, frigid temperatures, just god-awful stuff. Wind coming down from the north, the good old Arctic blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have been blasted, and most of the Midwest is really, really got hit. It hit the Midwest and then moving to the east. We didn't even get the bad stuff. They got the bad stuff. There are actually people who died in that cold snap that came down. And it is really, really pretty sad. And up here, we've seen a lot of bursting pipes, tree limbs down. And people don't realize this. They think tree limbs come down because of the wind. Not always. Tree limbs can actually come down because they get too cold. The sap in them freezes, it makes them brittle, and the weight of the limb brings it down. People don't realize that, but it's very true. It's very true. We've had fires. A family in Renton whose house caught on fire yesterday said an electrical issue inside their home's heater touched off the fire. Fire crews arrived in Redmond to contain a busted water line, and a firefighter responding to the call injured his leg when the wall of the apartment gave way. In North Seattle, firefighters struggled to contain a pipe that burst, leaving 6 units uninhabitable. And we have, for the foreseeable future, at least until they say otherwise, a Stage 1 burn ban that was elevated to a Stage 2 for Pierce and Snohomish counties. A Stage 1 burn ban was issued for King County. Now, that means that you cannot burn in your house unless it is your only source of heat. Stage 2 means, even if it's a pellet stove, an authorized insert type thing. So, yeah. The grandkids were really disappointed because it was beautiful out today. It was absolutely gorgeous. Sun was shining.
Yeah, it's like false advertising.
It is. It is. They got all excited. They wanted to go outside and play because it was a beautiful day. We're like, okay, go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Well, last weekend, my stepdaughters were like, Daddy, I want to go to the park because I live right across the street from a nice little playground. And so, me being the swell guy that I am, sure, we went to the park. I froze.
It's cold.
But they enjoyed it.
Yeah, the kids went out to play today, and they were back in about 3-4 minutes, freezing. You're like, it just looks pretty. It doesn't feel pretty. What can I tell you? Now, this is a weak system that we're having now that may cause light flurries near the coast today through tonight. Some snow showers will pass by the beaches, and coastal communities like Forks and Ocean Shores may see a dusting of snow by the end of the day. A few more pulses of moisture rotate into western Washington on Monday afternoon, and the air will still be cold enough so any showers falling will come down as snow. However, the atmosphere doesn't look wet enough to support much precipitation, so the snow looks light and scattered. Tuesday's going to be transition day, and it'll probably be a messy one. The cold, dry air mass at the surface will become overrun by warmer, moist air above. In this deep freeze, emergency crews are spreading a warning for people to stay away from small lakes and ponds that appear to be frozen over. The operative word here is appear to be frozen over. Yes. Crews say the ice is dangerously deceiving and often cannot hold the weight of small children and pets, much less adults. And fire officials want the public to make sure their heating devices are safe and not against combustibles. Also, they say to make sure chimneys have been checked to prevent a fire. This is a time of year we have the chimney fires and we have all the messy stuff that happens and people just trying to stay warm. And you can't fault them. You don't want to sit in your house and freeze.
No,
my bugaboo. I hate taking a shower so much. It's like you almost have to talk yourself into it. Now, I am the thermostat Nazi in my house. I really am, because I'm the one that has to write the checks, pay the bills.
Uh-huh.
And my job around the house is to pay the bills and make sure everything runs. And I have the thermostat set day and night. It's set at 68 degrees. I also provide throw blankets and things. When you're sitting on the sofa, you can throw a blanket over your legs. Everybody's comfy. You know, it's great. But that don't help in the shower. I tell you, you take a nice hot shower. It feels wonderful for the first time in days. Maybe you're warm to the bone. Then you turn it off and open that door, and oh my God, Jack Frost is nipping on everything but your nose. Lord, it does get cold.
Yes.
So hang in there. Try to stay warm. Stay safe while you stay warm. Make sure your pipes are wrapped.
Yes.
Any pipes that are exposed. I went through that one time. I had pipes in my laundry room burst. That was an incredible pain in the butt. You would not believe. And it turned out to be very expensive. So make sure your heating units, if you have heaters and space heaters and whatnot, make sure they're safe. Make sure they can't be knocked over. Make sure they're not up against things that can catch fire, like clothes or papers or anything like that, you know. Make sure little kids and pets don't knock them over. Most heaters nowadays come with a kill switch that if they fall over or get knocked over, they turn off. But some of the older ones don't. So keep an eye on it. And for the love of all that's holy, do not bring a barbecue in your house to warm up.
No, don't do that.
No. Every year, and this sounds bizarre. This sounds like, well, who would do a thing like that? Every year.
Every year.
Yeah. Every year you hear 2 or 3 times over the winter, somebody brought a barbecue in the house to use as a heating device, and the whole family ended up either getting very sick, or there have been times when people have died from carbon monoxide poisoning. That's all barbecues put off is carbon monoxide. Heat and carbon monoxide. There's nothing else. And a little bit of smoke from whatever you're barbecuing, if you're barbecuing. So don't do that. Please don't do that. Now, I got curious, and I looked it up. I got curious. You know the song, The 12 Days of Christmas?
Yes.
Which, incidentally, in case you're wondering, starts on the 13th of December. That would be the 12-day countdown, 12th day countdown to Christmas. And so we got a few days till then, but I really hate that Christmas carol. I really do. I have heard it sung well, maybe twice in my whole life. And I've heard it, I don't know, I can't tell you how many times I've heard the 12 Days of Christmas. It's awful. But I got to wondering, if you really went and did this for somebody, what would it cost you? Well, apparently I'm not the only one that was curious. The price of Lords of Leaping and Ladies Dancing has spiked this holiday season. Brace yourself. Yeah. Other items, though, mentioned in the carol The 12 Days of Christmas still cost the same as they did last year, which is kind of phenomenal when you think about it. Buying one set of the gifts mentioned in each verse costs $27,393 in stores, or 7.7% more than last year. This is according to the so-called Christmas price index that the PNC Wealth Management updates annually. And if you buy all 364 items repeated throughout the carol, now that the 27,393, that's if you bought one of each thing, okay, like on the 12th day. But if you bought it every time it was mentioned in the song, then you went back and rebought it, you'll pay $114,651, 6.9% more than last year. Last minute shoppers who turn to the internet will pay even more for all the gifts, about $173,000. Wow, who'd have thunk it was that expensive?
That's crazy.
And I would have thought it would be, the cost would all be wrapped up in the 5 golden rings. Nay. I was amazed. We were surprised to see such a large increase from a year ago, given that the overall benign inflation rate in the U.S., where the hell does he live? According to Jim Dunnigan, the managing executive of investments for PNC, the federal government's core customer price index rose only 1.7% this year. That's our ruler, if you will, our yardstick for inflation. Now, in the last few decades, since the list was started in 1984, year-over-year increases have averaged 2.9%, which is exactly the same number as broader U.S. inflation. But it's a fickle list because the price of some items have barely budged, while others have absolutely soared. 7 swans cost $7,000 this year. $1,000 a bird.
Wow.
$1,000 for a giant, annoying, honking, biting, chasing you around the park critter. Yes, they're lovely. They're absolutely lovely. And we all know the ugly duckling story, and we're so glad when he finds his mommy and daddy. Yeah, annoying birds. Annoying birds. Apparently, the cost of a single partridge, remember the one in the pear tree? That went from $12.57 to $15. That's a pretty good bump in 1 year. Now, one pear tree to put that partridge in, 30 years ago it cost $19.95, but today it'll cost you $184. Wow. Wow. That's a lot. That's a huge jump. The cost of 9 ladies dancing is now $7,553, or 20% more than last year's $6,294, while 10 lords of leaping jumped 10% to $5,243. Now, I'm guessing when they're going, ladies dancing and lords of leaping, they're looking at a ballet company, is what I'm thinking.
No, I thought they were talking about, strippers.
Stripper. Well, that might be even more expensive if you think about it. Now, 7 items on the list cost exactly the same as they did last year, including the gold rings and the turtle doves. While pipers piping, drummers drumming, and the pear trees showed only modest changes up or down. The swans are the most expensive items at $1,000 a piece, and the 8 maids of milking still cost a total of just $58 because the federal minimum wage hasn't risen. You pay a milking maiden minimum wage, apparently. I wasn't sure about that. At $7.25 each, they're the least expensive gifts in the song. Because you figure that, I guess, they milk for an hour. You pay a minimum wage for an hour.
Wow.
I love it. Now, PNC Financial Services Group Incorporated checks jewelry stores, dance companies, pet stores, and other sources to compile the list. Among its sources this year were the National Aviary in Pittsburgh, and the Philadelphia-based Pennsylvania Ballet Company. I was right. Okay, ballet. Check it out. Yeah. Get some kids down here at Irene School of Dance. Okay? Yeah. They could be little lords and little ladies, can't they? They don't have to be all grown up. It could be fun. Reenact the 12 Days of Christmas. That would be fun. That I would watch. That would be kind of cool if somebody would stage that. It wouldn't be that hard either. Maybe a little pricey from the sounds of things, but that could be pretty interesting.
Just a little.
I would like that. Now, the other day, Nelson Mandela passed away. Not unexpectedly.
Very sad.
Not unexpectedly, but it is still a sad, sad thing. I've actually had people say, what's the big diff? He was a good guy. There's a lot of good guys. No, I think they're missing the point here. Yeah, he was the past president of South Africa. He was imprisoned for 27 years over ideology.
Pretty much.
Talk about sticking to your guns. And the bottom line of it is, there are good people in this world. No doubt. Most people will agree with that, except the most curmudgeonly people among us. There are good people in this world. And there are a lot more good people in this world, believe it or not, than bad people. It's true. There's varying degrees of good people, okay? The thing that set Nelson Mandela apart from all the other good people in the world is that Nelson Mandela was contagious. He knew how to make others believe what he believed and feel what he felt. That's the hard part. It's easy to go through life saying, life is good and be kind to other people and we're going to, look out for the other guy and it's easy. Living it. You talk the talk, not a lot of people can walk the walk. No matter how much you really believe it, it's hard. But Nelson Mandela is one of the few people who managed to pull it off. And he was contagious. The amazing thing to me, and I never realized this, excuse me, apparently from the White House to the halls of Congress, U.S. government officials have responded to the death of Nelson Mandela with a hail of testimonials to the late South African president's leadership in the struggle for freedom and human rights. Until 5 years ago, however, this is the part I didn't know, the U.S. officially considered Mandela a terrorist. Up until 5 years ago. During the Cold War, both the State and the Defense Departments dubbed Mandela's political party, the African National Congress, a terrorist group. And Mandela's name remained on the U.S. terrorism watch list until 2008. Now, granted, before they took it off, they knew he was okay. Yeah, they just hadn't taken him off the list yet. But Presidents Carter and Reagan and Congress had all instituted sanctions against the white minority South African government because of its policy of racial apartheid. But in 1986, Reagan condemned Mandela's group, the ANC, which was leading the black struggle against the apartheid regime, saying it engaged in, quote, calculated terror, the mining of roads, the bombing of public places, designed to bring about further repression, unquote. That's what it says. Now, after the apartheid regime in South Africa declared the ANC a terrorist group, the Reagan administration followed suit. In August of 1988, the State Department listed the ANC among organizations that engage in terrorism. It said the group disavows a strategy that deliberately targets civilians, but noted that civilians have been victims of incidents claimed by or attributed to the ANC. Wow. This is how trustworthy, believable, credible, pick your word, pick your adjective, our intelligence system in this country is. Really. Yeah. It makes you wonder and gives one pause. Now, the publication referred to Mandela, who had once led the ANC's military wing, as part of the leadership, although by then he had spent more than a quarter century in prison. It also accepted the apartheid regime's claim that the ANC's operations, which heretofore had sought to avoid civilian casualties, abruptly changed. Now, understand what they're doing. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years locked in prison because he stood up and said apartheid was wrong. Black people should be treated like white people. What a bizarre concept. They threw the man in prison for 27 years. Now, his little group, the African National Committee, Congress, African National Congress, they went through several leadership changes while he was in prison. They went through several policy changes, shall we say, while he was in prison. It boggles the brain that the powers that be, including the presidents of the United States, Carter and Reagan, they could take what the apartheid regime was putting out as the official word and take it as law. No. Nelson Mandela, his entire life, spoke out for peace. Peace, getting along with each other, cooperation, mutual respect, those sorts of things that, governments really don't understand the concept of, sadly. Mandela was imprisoned in 1964 after being arrested and charged with sabotage, specifically a campaign against the country's power grid and plotting to overthrow the government. Nobody was injured in the sabotage campaign. He was released in 1990 at age 71. He was elected president of South Africa in 1994 in the country's first full and free elections and served until 1999. What does that tell you? The first free elections they have in the country, they elected this man president. First chance they had. Yeah. Nelson Mandela has always been a personal hero of mine. Rest in peace, sir. You will be missed. We're going to take a break here at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back in just a few, so hang in there with me. It's The Raw Nerve.
I'm Elaine Terso with Elaine Terso Photography. I've partnered with Ish Vintage Clothing, the Oxford Suites, and Parties by a Perfect Place to create our unique boudoir, glam, and pinup parties, which is perfect for a girls' night out or bachelorette parties. You choose your theme, get your hair and makeup done, play dress up for the evening, and then receive an accordion booklet of your photos, plus an 8x10 of your favorite photo. For parties or 7 or more, the hostess is free. For more information about our unique parties, visit my website, ElaineTersophotography.com.
Bremerton Bar and Grill is your new neighborhood bar and grill. At Bremerton Bar and Grill, they're an American-style, family-friendly restaurant that offers spectacular outdoor dining, happy hours twice a day, 18 draft beers, award-winning menus, and fast, friendly service. Need space for a private party? Reserve the Brad Johnson private dining room and dine in a real bank vault. Bremerton Bar and Grill, 190 Pacific Avenue, right across the street from the ferry terminal in downtown Bremerton.
Brothers Power Sports has been a locally owned family business in Bremerton since 1949. From new and pre-owned motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, boats, and watercraft, to parts and service and apparel. Brothers Power Sports is committed to being your source for all your motorsports needs, and they're a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Brothers Power Sports, 5205 1st Street in Bremerton, and online at brotherspowersports.com. Stop in and feel the difference at Brothers Power Sports in Bremerton.
Heather Madden, former machinist, wins success as a skilled professional rock star.
No more working dusty old machine shops for me. Being the boss of my own professional rock band has improved my life in every way, and I owe it all to the cool gear at Kitsap Music.
What do you want? Substantial spare time? Groupies? Leather pants? Use only certified cool products from Kitsap Music.
Make a difference in your community and volunteer at Kitsap Humane Society. We have opportunities for everyone and need help in all areas of the shelter. You can clean, feed, and help socialize animals or answer phones, greet customers, and help run special events and fundraisers. KHS volunteers also lead programs including our foster program, canine training, and animal-assisted therapy. If you are interested in volunteering at Kitsap Humane Society, visit our website at kitsap-humane.org.
Hey, St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to send a quick shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all of your concrete needs. They can do pathways, walkways, driveways, you name it. You need a new foundation, you're going to do an add-on, give them a call, 731-9812 or 649-0987. Again, that's 731-9812 or 649-0987. Pacific Northwest Artisans, all of your concrete needs.
Welcome back to the Raw Nerve, heard only on Edge Media Source. It helps if I unmute the thing. Anyhow, now back to your host. Here's Susan C. I'm going to unmute yours too.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
This is why I make the big bucks today.
Yeah. This is what you said on that side of the glass, right?
Uh-huh.
He knows buttons.
I got a feeling I'm going to walk home.
Hey, I can't say anything. I look at those panels, those control panels, and it's like blah, 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 blah. Lots and lots and lots of buttons, and they all do something. It's amazing. It's amazing. Now, welcome back, everybody, to the Raw Nerve. And I'll tell you, before the break there, I was talking about Nelson Mandela and him passing. And I saw this, and I was like, yeah, really? Really? A South Carolina sheriff is defying President Barack Obama's order to lower flags to half-staff as a tribute to South African leader Nelson Mandela. Why, you might ask? Good question. Pickens County Sheriff Rick Clark said he was defying Obama's order because he thinks the honor of lowering flags should be reserved for fallen Americans. It's just my simple opinion that the flag should only be lowered to half-staff for Americans who sacrificed for their country, Clark told CNN. Now, on Saturday, his department's flag was lowered for the 72nd anniversary of Pearl Harbor attacks, but Pickens said he'd have it back up Sunday morning. Obama ordered the flags to remain at half-staff until Monday evening. I have no problem with their lowering it in South Africa in their country, but not for our country, Clark said. It should be the people who have sacrificed for our country. Boy, repeats himself, doesn't he? The flag at half-staff is for America's ultimate sacrifice for our country, the sheriff said. We should never stray away from that. Clark reiterated his views in a Facebook post. Nelson Mandela did great things for his country and was a brave man, but he was not an American. American, in big capital letters, he wrote. CNN noted in the report that former Presidents George W. Bush and Bill Clinton both ordered the lowering of the flags for noted foreign nationals. Now, okay. Number one, The sheriff admits it's just his opinion. So, okay, where the hell do you get off defying what the president orders? General in the military is not allowed to do that, or an admiral can't just take an aircraft carrier and say, well, I don't feel like going there. I'm going to go over here. I think we could do better. You're not allowed to do that. You're the sheriff of a county in South Carolina, and I've got a feeling, and the whole world who's kind of got the feeling, that the fact that you're saying this from South Carolina has something to do with why you don't want to lower the flag for Nelson Mandela. Dare we say it?
The R word?
The R word. The R word. Would you be a racist little bugger?
Yeah, because he's still stuck back in, I don't know, the 40s.
In South Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that's the most BS thing I've ever heard. And I'll tell you, anybody in the United States that thinks Nelson Mandela has never done anything for this country is an idiot. Absolutely. Because, okay, Nelson Mandela wasn't a big, he wasn't an Al Sharpton. You know, every time something happened, he didn't get his face in the news and get his quotes.
No.
Yeah, he didn't get his news bites and sound bites and stuff out. He was much more quiet than that. He believed in doing good things because they were good things to do, period. Not because you got your name known, not because you got your face out there in the public, but because they were the right things to do. And I don't think you can get much better than that. So I'm just, to that, Sheriff Clark down in South Carolina, welcome to the 21st century, lower your damn flag. The man earned it. Now, another passing that was sudden and unexpected, Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Paul Walker passed away. Now,
in a very ironic way.
Yes, it was. Very ironic. Paul Walker, of course, was one of the stars of the Fast and Furious franchise, with Vin Diesel and several other people.
Yes.
Good movie. I remember I've seen, I think, like one or two. I know I saw the first one. I think I saw the second one.
I own the second one. I've seen all of them.
Yeah, they're all pretty cars I will never own.
And they were working on part 7 when he got in his accident.
Right, the sequel, number 7. And him and a friend were driving down the road and apparently driving very fast, as was their wont, and managed to drive a Porsche into a pole. And they both tragically lost their lives in this accident in Los Angeles. That's bad enough. And people are very upset. People, what are they going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I understand this. But I got to tell you, some people really cross that line. Really crossed the line. In Santa Clarita, California, a man was arrested and another agreed to surrender after Los Angeles authorities said the men stole part of the Porsche that crashed, killing actor Paul Walker. They stole part of the car, the busted up car.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much left of it anyway.
No, there wasn't much left. Jameson Whitty, 18 years old, was arrested at his home in northeastern Los Angeles, and a second man's arrest was pending after the men allegedly stole parts of the doomed red 2005 Porsche Carrera GT. Oh, and it was pretty. As it was being towed away Saturday night. The car, carrying Fast and Furious actor Walker, 40, and his friend Roger Rodas, 38, crashed into a light pole and a tree and burst into flames in Santa Clarita, California, around 3:30 Saturday. Now, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department declared both men dead at the scene. Now, this was a week ago yesterday. Not yesterday. A witness at the scene saw a male exit a vehicle that was following the tow truck. The male grabbed a piece of the wrecked Porsche off the tow truck's bed. The male drove away with the stolen vehicle part. The tow truck driver reported the theft to Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff's Station, according to the statement cited by the Los Angeles Times. The robbery occurred when the flatbed tow truck was stopped at a red light. Whitty and the other man allegedly stole a roof panel off the back of the tow truck. Whitty was booked Thursday at the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff's Station with a bail set at $20,000. I understand there was also a door involved, a door off the car. And I'm like, okay, guess how they knew they did this?
No idea.
They tried to sell it on eBay.
Oh, well, yeah. Should have known that.
This isn't somebody that showed up and wanted a remembrance piece of somebody they really cared about that really touched them. No, they wanted to make money.
Yeah, they thought money.
Period. Little vultures, 18 years old, lock their asses up. That just, no. Stealing it off the flatbed truck. And I'll tell you, the flatbed truck takes the wreck from the scene to the impound lot where there's a whole investigation that goes into this. It's a huge, whenever there's a fatality involved, absolutely. There's this huge investigation. And if there are pieces missing, it's almost impossible to get an absolute, be able to say, this is what happened. Dun, 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 dun. You can't do it. So I read that and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Little twits. Well, it is the 8th of December, which means we are on the countdown to Christmas.
Yeah.
Got to get the Grinch out. I have the Grinch. I love the Grinch. He's one of my favorite Christmas characters. Only because he turns around and turns good. But I got to tell you, my phone's ringing off the hook. I don't know about you. Every time I turn around, my phone is ringing, and it's somebody wanting me to donate. Can't you and it's always for the most wonderful causes. Can't you donate to send children to the Christmas show? Disabled or disadvantaged children to the show. Can't you donate to help women get mammograms who can't afford to get them? Have you not heard about Obamacare? Wait a month, everybody will get them for free, okay? Dumbass. They've always got a tragic, sorry, sad story. Always. And don't get me wrong. Charities do wonderful things in this country, and I'm a firm believer in charity. I donate to charity. But I'll tell you what, when I donate to charity, it's because it's my choice. I choose who I am donating to, and I have checked into them.
There you go.
I'm not donating to somebody who calls me and talks about the poor, sad little animals in the shelter that don't have food for Christmas. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Now, a new report, apparently I'm not wrong in this, a new report from the Secretary of State confirms that millions of dollars are going to paid fundraisers and marketing campaigns. You think you're donating to help some down-and-out person get, a hand up, not a handout, but a hand up, and turn your life around and at least get through the holidays in one piece? No, you're not. In some cases, less than 50% of the money raised ends up going to the actual charity. It's another reminder to exercise extreme caution if you're thinking about making a charitable donation this holiday season. Now, charity fundraisers hit you up by mail, they intrude on the internet, and pest you by phone. During the holiday season especially, charities take in millions thanks to your desire to give. But just because they claim to represent charities doesn't mean the charities are getting most of the cash. Excuse me. I think when you give to any kind of charity, you really have to do your homework, according to Washington Secretary of State Kim Wyman. Wyman warns you need to be especially careful when it comes to commercial fundraisers, companies that are paid to ask you for money. Some commercial fundraisers keep as much as 90% of that dollar. So you really want to make sure your money is going to the charity you're interested in, she said. Now, according to the Secretary of State's latest commercial fundraiser activity report, of the 116 commercial fundraisers registered, only seven of the 116 returned more than 80 cents on the dollar to clients. Only 7 of the 116 commercial registered fundraisers. And these are the registered ones. There are tons of them out there operating out of little back rooms, just trying to get you to send in money for whatever. Pick a cause. They're year-round, but this time of year, oh my Lord, they come out from under every rock, every crevice, you name it. Like cockroaches. Now, 30 commercial fundraisers in this list gave clients less than 20 cents on the dollar, and 5 actually spent more than they raised. In other words, nothing went to the clients. And 5 of them. Nothing went to the charity you were donating to. Before you give a donation, check out charities on the Secretary of State's website or call the State Charities Program at 1-800-332-GIVE, G-I-V-E. Washington only. To make sure your money will be used efficiently, 2 other good websites that can help you check out charities and confirm where the money's actually going are Charity Navigator and Charity Watch. Attorney General Bob Ferguson says it's also important to ask questions, especially when you're asked to make a monetary donation on the spot. Many so-called charities post themselves outside of retail businesses to collect cash, but they're not legally registered at charities at all. Ferguson encourages anyone who suspects an illegal or deceptive charity to file a complaint on the Attorney General's website. We see those storefront folks who set up. They have very sympathetic sounding name. We deal with those bad actors all the time, and it helps us to know if you see someone who's suspicious, call our office. When we get complaints, then we can do our investigation and hold them accountable and put them out of business. I wonder if that includes the guys with the kettle and the bell ringing outside the retail stores.
Could be.
Okay, seriously, I know they're legitimate. Salvation Army is legitimate, okay? I will not take that away from
but there can always be imposters.
Oh, this is true. Pay attention. But I'll tell you, I have always, every year, donated Salvation Army. I've always, you can't every pot you pass, put money in. But 2 or 3 times, 3, 4, 5 times, whatever, I'll be coming out, put some money in the pot. I won't do that anymore. And I'll tell you why. The Salvation Army is a Christian organization, which is terrific. All for it. But they have taken it as part of their mandate that Christian belief does not include gays. Really. I don't understand by what definition of Christian does exclusionary tactics, where does this fit in? I don't understand this. I don't see Christian beliefs and values being discriminatory. It's like they say church isn't for, saints and angels. Church is for the broken, the sinner. That's who you want to come. There was a story I read the other day about a very busy soup kitchen, for lack of a better word, where they put out food for hungry people. They have them come in. Homeless people and whatnot come in there and they get something hot to eat. And they're very busy. And they closed down because the church they're affiliated with said it was attracting too many poor people. Really? I'm sure if they get rid of all the low-life poor people, the folks in the Bentleys and the Mercedes are going to be pulling up with their valet parking to dine on your cuisine. I'm absolutely sure they're really going to line up for your bologna sandwiches. Really. And then this is true. How dare you? How dare you? It offends me to the very fiber of what I am for someone to say, you, whoever, are not good enough. For what? Tell me I'm not good enough to do brain surgery. That's fine. That's just a lack of training. I can't fix a car. There's a lot of things I can't do. Can't build a computer. Lack of training. But you tell somebody you're not good enough as a human being, as a person, as an individual, for our organization to worry about, to be concerned about, to care about. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's very Christian. So I am not donating to the Salvation Army's red pots anymore. Sorry. But I did want to let you know about this problem that they're having with the scams and the charities. If somebody calls you, and I've had some very, very persistent, they won't take no type things, you pay for that phone line. You're allowed to hang it up. It goes click. Hang up on them. Because when you figure there's so many of these, give pennies of every dollar to the charity you think you're donating to, and 5 of them didn't give anything to the charity. You don't owe them anything. Not a damn thing. Certainly not your time. But if you want to donate, which is terrific, do your homework. You pick out who you want to donate to, and you electronically send the money or cut the check or whatever you want to do and donate and feel good about it. But also feel good about the fact that you weren't blind about it, and you looked into it and you took steps to make sure you weren't being ripped off too. Not enough people help out. We don't need people being ripped off when they do try. It irks me. It irritates me. It's like that commercial. You see that commercial? That new commercial of the guy who's apparently some sort of scam artist. And he's talking about how he does it. If he wants to be old school, he'll go look through your garbage for a credit card receipt or something.
Can't say I've seen it because I don't have TV.
Oh, well, there you go. Or,
I need some charity.
This is like the most perfect depiction of a scuzzball I have seen in a long time. The actor who does this should be proud. He really should. He does the thing where he's got the ceramic mug and he's talking into it and he's like, "Grandma, I'm in jail in Tijuana. They say I need $3,000, which is a very popular scam they're actually pulling on elderly people and getting away with. So I have a lot of heartburn with scammers. I think they should all be lined up and shot, but that's just my opinion. They come after pedophiles. Yes. Now, I don't know about you, but my attitude is if you are going to make a law and require me to follow it and to the letter, and you will punish me if I fail to do so, I do not expect then to see where you turn around and for one of your own not do the same. Professional courtesy? I don't think so. No. Out of Issaquah, Washington, an Issaquah city prosecutor filed charges Thursday alleging a Bellevue police officer was driving under the influence of alcohol. Now, it happens. Police officers are just as human as anybody else. It happens. It doesn't make it right, and they have to jump through the same hoops that we do. Under a situation like this, it could absolutely impact their career, since their career is to drive in their police cars. Should be a deterrent right there from doing it in the first place, but it happens. Now, he's already been suspended from the force by Bellevue's police chief, and the officer who pulled him over is the subject of an internal investigation. Andrew Hankey was pulled over by his colleague back on November 20th after he was observed swerving on I-90 near Issaquah, according to police report. I-90, a busy freeway, large busy freeway. Now, Hankey is the same officer who was involved in a highly publicized incident at a Seattle Seahawks game in which he was accused of aggressive and obscene behavior. Really? One of our police officers? Wow, I'm stunned. Yeah. The incident prompted the chief to remove him from the Bellevue Police Bomb Squad and suspend him for 30 days. It was a doozy. The officer who pulled over Hankey on the 20th is still on the job. Now, the chief announced she will conduct an internal investigation after the report detailed how he let a family member come pick Hankey up and drive them home. In other words, he did not arrest him. I don't know about you. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Washington State has really gone a long way to crack down on drunk driving, including if you're arrested for drunk driving, you fail a breathalyzer or whatever, blood test, there's supposed to be 24 hours mandatory in jail. Yeah, among many other things that happen because of a DUI in this state. And this cop stops his, coworker. Yeah, he's drunk. And lets a coworker or family member come pick him up and drive him home. That's the old school way of doing things. We're not allowed to do that anymore. And I guarantee you, had that been you or me, there'd been no family member coming to pick us up, honey. We got a ride in the back of the car with our hands behind our backs. Yeah. We know how this is going to work. And just to let you know, just talking about cops here, I want to give you a follow-up on a story I talked about last week. Blew me away. Excuse me. A New Mexico State police officer who fired at a minivan full of children. Do you remember that? Oh, my God.
Yes, I remember that.
I could not believe when that happened. But he fired at a minivan full of children during a traffic stop last month. Has been suspended. Really, at the least, I guess, at the least. Officer Elias Montoya has been suspended with pay pending a disciplinary investigation into a traffic incident that took place near the town of Taos, New Mexico, according to state police. Now, Chief Pete Caceres told the Associated Press on Thursday the incident was captured by a dashboard camera on the police vehicle. As driver Oriana Farrell drives away from a traffic stop in which another officer bashed her van's window with his stick, Montoya could be seen shooting at the vehicle full of kids as young as 6. There were like 5 kids in that van. Farrell then takes off on a 4-minute high-speed chase in Taos and cutting in the wrong-way traffic before eventually pulling over and giving up in front of a hotel. She and her 14-year-old son were later arrested. The woman had been stopped for speeding and fled twice after arguing with an officer. Now, the video garnered national attention, and Quesada said he would launch an internal investigation according to the AP. Now, the woman never, ever, ever threatened an officer. All she did was not stop and take off again, and driving stupid. But she never threatened an officer. And yet the video shows him firing at the minivan from behind it as she takes off. And they knew those kids were in the van because an officer had already gone to the window, spoke to the woman, noted the children in the car. And I don't think they should have arrested her 14-year-old son either, because he's a 14-year-old kid. He thought he was protecting his mom.
Yep.
Trying to be the good guy here. And I think throwing him in jail and arresting him is sending the wrong message to a young man who, he's 14. You can make a difference with how he views things in life, how he views the police in life. Nobody ever uses teaching moments anymore. Whatever happened to that? No, it's letter of the law. Boy, I'll tell you, it's black and white. You're going to jail.
Because the cop felt violated. Well, you shot at a van full of us. So.
Yeah. How would he have felt if he had... And I tell you, minivans, while awesome vehicles when you have a family to get them around, are not generally speaking bulletproof.
No. Usually a lot of windows.
How do you think... Well, just the thin steel, How do you... Or fiberglass.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think he would have felt if he had shot one of those kids and just injured them, let alone killed them?
Yeah.
Would you really want to live with that for the rest of your life just because a woman wouldn't pull over and stop when you asked her to? No.
But then he tried to make us pay for it because he'd have to go have therapy.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. He'd have to have therapy over the whole thing.
And see, I remember the show that you brought that up because it was you talked about that poor guy that got stopped and went and got violated a million different ways.
Repeatedly.
Yes.
Yes. Because he didn't come to a complete stop leaving Walmart.
Whoa. So what happens to you when you steal a ferry?
You go to jail and get a $20,000 bail. That's what's happened to that guy. Yeah.
Our idiot of the month already.
You know what's funny? What's really funny is when his picture came out, was released, I looked at that, and boy, I scrambled to look at his name real fast because I swear he looks like somebody I know. And I'm like, no. Oh, thank God. No, it wasn't who I thought. But the person he looked like to me was about that dumb. Okay. And I'm like, no, please. Don't tell me he went over the edge now this time. Yeah. But steal a ferry. Because he wanted to go to the other side. Why did the idiot steal the ferry? Because he wanted to get to the other side.
Well, it helps if you know how to drive the thing.
Well, it does take a crew, too,
Yep.
It takes a crew. He didn't even untie the mooring lines. So the cleats in the back of the ferry got pulled off because he takes off. I mean, talk about a Keystone Cops moment. This had to be hysterical, which probably has a lot to do with why it lost power, was afloat. Almost ran into a freighter. I mean, for heaven's sakes. Are you bored today? Go joyride a ferry.
At 3-something in the morning.
Real. I mean, even a little foot ferry. The little foot ferry in Port Orchard. That takes a couple of people to run the thing.
Yeah, there's always 2 people.
Yeah, you can't do it by yourself.
I ride it.
Yeah, you can't do it by yourself. And he takes a Victoria Clipper. Right.
I'm going to go for a cruise.
I'm telling you, our world is full of just brainiacs. Brainiacs. Although, I don't know, Marilyn Monroe had a higher IQ than Albert Einstein. Bet you didn't know that.
Nope.
Not so dumb now, was she? We'll be back for the second hour after the news break here at the top of the hour. Hang in there with me. It's the Raw Nerve, and I'll see you in a few.
NPR News in Washington, I'm Barbara Klein. Thousands of flights are canceled across the country because of wintry weather, leaving many travelers frustrated for yet another day. The tracking website FlightAware.com estimates nearly 2,200 flights have been canceled nationwide as of this afternoon. It follows 2 days of similar travel disruptions. NPR's Paul Brown is at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport outside D.C.
When I dropped a passenger at Reagan National for a flight out, the crowds weren't huge, but neither was the air traffic. It seemed at least a quarter of flights were canceled and more were being added every minute to the airport's electronic billboards. My passenger went through security and then started text messaging me. Raleigh flight canceled, Nashville canceled, Pittsburgh canceled. And on it went. 2 hours after boarding, the passenger I dropped off was still waiting for the plane's wings to be de-iced, but she reported the flight crew had announced it was still too cold and wet to de-ice. That's the kind of day it's been for air travelers affected by the storm systems, a day of delays and cancellations rippling outward as planes can't fly to their scheduled destinations. Paul Brown, NPR News, Washington.
Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel wrapped up a visit to Afghanistan today, offering troops a morsel of optimism about the Pentagon's financial straits. Hagel told Marines at Camp Leatherneck a possible budget agreement in Washington may let up on some of the automatic spending cuts that have led to cuts, reductions, and shrinking pay raises. Hagel heads to Pakistan tomorrow. Wildlife officials have ceased their rescue efforts for a pod of whales that swam into shallow water in the Florida Everglades. NPR's Nathan Rott reports the decision was made after wildlife officials lost sight of the surviving whales.
Early last week, a pod of whales was spotted by a fishing guide in a remote section of Everglades National Park. The area they were swimming in was shallow, so shallow that many of the estimated 51 whales in the pod became beached. At least 22 of those whales have died. 4 were euthanized as wildlife officials tried to push the rest into deeper waters. Short-finned pilot whales usually live in deeper, colder waters, but it's common for them to become stranded. The national park spokeswoman said that even after they're rescued, they tend to re-beach themselves. The National Park Service's aerial and boat survey teams couldn't locate the whales. They are hopeful that they moved into deeper waters. Nathan Rott, NPR News.
In Ukraine, hundreds of thousands of people poured into the streets of Kiev today, demanding President Viktor Yanukovych resign for refusing to sign a deal on economic ties with the European Union, accusing him of aligning with Russia. Protesters are blockading key government buildings with cars, barricades, and tents. Further heightening tensions, a group of protesters toppled a landmark statue of Soviet leader Vladimir Lenin. Today's massive demonstration is the latest in nearly 3 weeks of protests. This is NPR. Gas prices continue to creep up.
They're up 3 cents in the past 2 weeks to $3.28 per gallon. And this is a total of 6 cents in the past 4 weeks.
Industry analyst Trilby Lundberg, who attributes the slow but steady increase to the ripple effect of rising crude oil prices. The latest report from UCLA economists says the U.S. economy and labor market are expected to pick up next year. As Danielle Carson reports, the gains are projected in spite of what the study calls the government's self-inflicted wounds.
UCLA's fourth quarter Anderson economic forecast finds the U.S. economy is growing, despite headwinds like the government shutdown and the bungled rollout of Obamacare. Many economists expected the shutdown to hobble growth. Instead, GOP clocked in at 3.6% in the third quarter. Forecast co-author Jerry Nicholsberg is expecting modest but steady growth next year.
We are going to gradually improve, and that'll be based on the need for housing, the need for replacing automobiles. Those seem to be growing at a little faster rate.
The report says that should put the economy on track to keep adding 200,000 jobs a month, and that should lead to more consumer spending, the engine of economic growth. For NPR News, I'm Danielle Carson.
Imagine there's no heaven.
Well, for those of us of a certain age, it's hard to imagine 33 years ago today, John Lennon was shot and killed as he and his wife Yoko Ono were returning to their New York apartment after a recording session. He was 40 years old and, along with the other Beatles, had changed rock and roll. I'm Barbara Klein, NPR News in Washington.
Judy's Sewing in East Bremerton is your one-stop shop for all your sewing, alteration, and clothing repair need. At Judy's Sewing, you can also find tuxedo rentals and bridal party dresses for only $69 and bride's dresses starting at $189. Judy's Sewing at the corner of Fairgrounds Road and Central Valley in East Bremerton, near Handy Andy's, or call Judy at 360-662-1212. That's right, 360-662-1212 for Judy Sewing.
Hey sports fans, have you ever wished there was a live and local all-sports broadcasting network, but wish no more? It's ISPNSports.com. Kitsap's only live and local all-sports 24-hour broadcasting network, featuring the Kitsap Blue Jackets, the Olympic College Rangers, high school athletics, and the ISPN Sports Show every Saturday morning from 10 to noon with interviews from exclusive guests from around the Sound. So, you want sports? Go to ISPNSports.com.
Toad House Pizza Pub at 1405 McWilliams Road isn't just a pizza place. It's the feel of an authentic East Coast pizzeria pub right in East Bremerton. From gourmet pizza to salad, Toad House Pizza Pub is an experience like no other. With over 120 beers on hand, you'll find exactly what you're looking for. Toad House Pizza Pub, a family restaurant offering dine-in, outdoor seating, or just take-out. Toad House Pizza Pub, a pizza pub like no other.
Brothers Power Sports has been a locally owned family business in Bremerton since 1949. From new and pre-owned motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, boats, and watercraft, to parts and service and apparel, Brothers Power Sports is committed to being your source for all your motorsports needs. And they're a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Brothers Power Sports, 5205 First Street in Bremerton, and online at brotherspowersports.com. Stop in and feel the difference at Brothers Power Sports in Bremerton.
Make a difference in your community and volunteer at Kitsap Humane Society. We have opportunities for everyone and need help in all areas of the shelter. You can clean, feed, and help socialize animals, or answer phones, greet customers, and help run special events and fundraisers. KHS volunteers also lead programs including our foster program, canine training, and animal-assisted therapy. If you are interested in volunteering at Kitsap Humane Society, visit our website at kitsap-humane.org.
Paladin Data Systems is in the business of successful technology product deployment. Paladin Data Systems provides information management products and solutions to government agencies and others that need a trusted, experienced technology partner. Paladin's core philosophy is simple: do right, do our best, and treat others the way we would like to be treated. Paladin Data Systems is also a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Find out more about Paladin Data Systems online at paladindata.com. Paladin Data Systems. Innovation, integrity, results.
And welcome to the second hour of the Raw Nerve, only on Edge Media Source. And you can log into our webpage at edgemediasource.com and leave your comments there, or you can give us a call at 253-617-1440. Now back to your host. Here she is, Susan C.
Thank you, Dennis. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome. This is the second hour of the Raw Nerve right here on Edge Media Source. Hope you all having a great week and a great weekend. A little on the burn nippy side. Just
yeah.
Tiddly bit nippy. Joining me on the other side of the glass, of course, is Bad Boy Dennis D. How you doing, darling?
Hello. Just great.
Making me sound good and push those buttons, I'm telling you.
I went out into the nippiness. I was all right.
Yeah, I avoid that whenever possible. It's just getting cold. There were parts of the state last night hitting the single digits.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably will again tonight. Amazing.
Friday evening when I was coming back from Port Orchard. Yeah, it was, whoa.
You know, everyone is always surprised because usually we don't get this cold this fast. Normally this time of year we'd have upper 30s, mid 40s for highs, you know. And we've been in the 20s and teens around the state. And people always, well, why don't you guys get a lot of snow? Well, it's where we are in the Puget Sound area. It's very simple. During the pretty weather, you hear about the convergence, Puget Sound convergence. That makes it rain here a lot. No surprise to anybody in the country. or the world. However, what happens this time of year when we get the cloud cover that has the moisture, that holds the heat in. So it's too warm to snow. Then when we don't have the cloud cover, so there's no moisture there, that lets the heat out and we freeze and it gets very, very cold. So when we're cold enough to snow, there's never any clouds and moisture for it. And when it is cold enough to snow, or when we do have the clouds and moisture, it's too warm to snow. Kind of a catch-22. We do usually get some snow during the year. I saw some the other day. Did you see that?
I did.
I was amazed. What was that, Friday, I think it was?
Yep.
No, Thursday.
It was Thursday or Friday, because I was actually leaving to go to work.
Yeah.
And I thought something, had fallen off the roof of the house or something. Just this little white flake. I'm like, what is this?
Little tiny
and
flurry.
Then when I got down to my bus stop, sure enough.
I was amazed.
It'd be snowing.
I'm like, it's not even Christmas. It's amazing. We're going to have, they're saying, we're probably going to have a pretty moderate winter this year, mainly because this is the year that we have, oddly enough, neither a Nino, we don't have the El Nino, we don't have the El Nina weather fronts coming through the El Nino and El Nina are both currents that come out of the Pacific, and they affect everything right up to the jet stream. And when it's El Nino, we tend to be really, really wet. When it's El Nino, we tend to be drier and colder. But we have neither, which is really rare around here. We usually have one or the other. Be interesting to see what happens.
Well, I mean, I myself have lived up in Alaska for a while.
I'm so sorry.
And, not a problem.
Yeah.
I felt fine. I lived in Chicago during the dead of winter, and people thought I was ridiculous because I go out to get my mail, and I'm not wearing anything but, sandals and a pair of shorts.
Boxer shorts.
And there's snow on the ground, and I'm like, it's not that cold out here. But now
coming from Alaska, I can see where.
And now I'm back here, and I'm like, I'm frozen. I have become unclimatized to this type of weather. It's
that we do. We get unclimatized to harsh weather, really harsh weather, because it really is very temperate up here. But I also think it's a matter of, when they talk about a dry heat is easier to take than a wet heat.
Yeah.
So you can go to Arizona in the heat of summer and not be as miserable as you could be in, say, Florida when it's a whole lot cooler but still hot because humidity's so high and you're miserable. I think that works for moisture and for cold too. When it's a wet cold, it's miserable, damp. But when it's a dry cold, it's not so bad. I really do. I think it's got something to do with it. Well, I'll tell you what. One of my all-time favorite people on the face of the planet, Hugh Jackman. I love that boy. I do. One of the few men on the face of the planet I've told my husband, I will call you in the morning if the chance ever arises. Tell you all about it. I would. I would. Yeah. He's a pretty boy. But seriously, he's got some problems now. He's got a bandage on his nose these days, but it's not a fashion statement. He's had it since late November thanks to an unplanned surgery on basal cell carcinoma. It's skin cancer. What a scary thought. He's now opened up about the incident with his schnoz, as he puts it, and how much worse things could have been. The whole time I thought it's not much, but it's only afterwards did they say you're really lucky to get it checked out now. He was talking on the Today Show in this. He emphasized it was not melanoma that he had removed, but a basal cell carcinoma, which is less severe, but it does grow, and there are complications the bigger it is. Now, Jackman Instagrammed a photo of himself post-surgery on November 21st, telling his fans to get their own skin checked and to wear sunscreen. He admitted he wouldn't likely have gotten it checked in the first place without the urging of his makeup artist and his wife. It all started, he said, during filming the upcoming X-Men Days of Future Past. I was shooting the movie, and I had a bit of blood one morning, and I thought I'd scratch myself in the fight. But for the next few weeks, he assumed that when his nose had a little blood on it again, that he'd just scratched off the scab. But then his makeup artist noticed and told him to get it looked at. That's when his wife, Deborah Lee Furness, stepped in, and she hounded him to get it checked. How did it get to this point? Well, Jackman points to his native sunny country as the likeliest source, Australia. Australians, he says, it's par for the course. I don't remember being stopped and someone saying, "Are you boys wearing sunscreen?" until I was around 15 or 16. For now, he says he'll keep getting the area checked for a few times a year, and he can even joke about it a bit. People presume actors are very vain, but I told the doctor to make it an even bigger scar. He said, "Go about 45 degrees up and then a little tilt down." I've always wanted one of those. He could get away with it. But no, that's a scary thing. That really is. And I really, really like it. So much better nowadays. Big stars will have the responsible ones. I'm not talking about the ones who go to rehab and that. But the really responsible celebrities. They'll get something like this. They'll come out and say, "This is what happened to me. This is what happened. This is what I'm going through. This is why you need to check this and this and this." And that really, really makes an impact on people. It's more than the American Cancer Society saying, have your skin checked by the doctor No, this really hits home with people. If someone like Hugh Jackman can get skin cancer, well, maybe you could too. That's why it's a good reminder to get yourself checked. And a lot of people think they don't have to use sunscreen because, well, it's winter. It's cold. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You know the old thing that you can sunburn an overcast day faster than a bright day? Yeah. Same sort of a thought. Same sort of a deal. Wear sunscreen. Get yourself checked. It's not worth it. I'm really glad if he had to get some kind of cancer, his is a basal cell carcinoma rather than the melanoma. Melanoma is just an awful thing to have to fight. It's terrible. Excuse me. Now, I've often said, if there's anything I love, it's a dumb crook. If you got to have a crook, they should be dumb. They should be dumb. It should be a rule somewhere. 6 people suspected of having stolen a shipment of highly radioactive cobalt-60. Really? Were released from a Mexican hospital, but they remain in police custody. This is what officials said as of Friday. Now, the Hidalgo State Health Department said in a statement that the 6 males, all aged 16 to 38, were reported to be stable. A health department spokeswoman told Reuters that only the 16-year-old, showed signs of radiation exposure and that he too was in good health. Health Secretary Pedro Luis Noble confirmed that the 6 had been admitted to General Hospital of Pachula, telling Telemundo that they could be transferred to another facility. An official with the federal prosecutor's office told the Associated Press that the suspects were to be turned over to investigators for questioning. Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency said the cobalt, which is often used in chemotherapy, was stolen from a hospital in Tijuana. It was discovered Wednesday in a rural area about half a mile from Huipaxala, where the truck had been used to transport it was found abandoned. Mexican officials said that thieves probably didn't know what they were taking and most likely were targeting the truck rather than the load that it was carrying. Cobalt-60 emits strong gamma rays and poses a significant threat of radiation sickness and skin burns in the short term and causes cancer of the liver, kidneys, and bones. Wow. Excuse me. A story I read when it first happened, before they caught anybody, said that whoever, apparently they stole the truck, and they stole it I heard it was from a gas station. They say from a hospital, but I heard it was a gas station. They stole the truck, and later they found the truck abandoned in the field with the canister that was being used to transport the Cobalt-60 open. A bad thing. And they were saying that if someone were close enough to it for very long at all, they'd probably die. This stuff is tricky. It's dangerous stuff. Wow. But can you imagine? What did you steal today? I stole radioactivity. Trying to be Spider-Man or something. That's just the weirdest thing. Just not something you hear every day. Oh, yeah, they stole some radioactive stuff, and they could have died. And yeah. Makes you wonder.
But then you qualify for a great job at a hazmat site.
Ooh, yeah. Maybe they'll come over here, immigrate up here, and we can have them check out radioactive materials.
There we go.
Well, you're already exposed. Yeah. Now, speaking of idiotic things, just my opinion, but oh Lord, your tax dollars at work. They floated down from the sky last Sunday. 2,000 mice. Picture this. 2,000 mice on little umbrellas. on little umbrellas, floating down in the air on tiny cardboard parachutes over Anderson Air Force Base in U.S. territory of Guam. Now, the rodent commandos didn't know they were on a mission or anything like that to help eradicate the brown tree snake, an invasive species that has caused millions of dollars in wildlife and commercial losses since it arrived a few decades ago. That's because they were dead, the mice. And they were just pumped full of painkillers. The unlikely invasion was the fourth and biggest rodent air assault so far, part of an $8 million U.S. program approved in February to eradicate the snakes and save the exotic native birds that are their snack food. Every time there's a technique that's tested and shows promise, we jump on that bandwagon and promote it and help out and to facilitate its implementation. Yeah. It's not just birds the government's trying to protect, it's also money. Anderson, like other large industrial complexes on the western Pacific Island, is regularly bedeviled by power failures caused when the snakes wriggle their way into electric substations, an average of 80 a year, costing as much as $4 million in annual repair costs and lost productivity. This is according to the Interior Department. The U.S. has tried lots of ways to eliminate the snakes, which it says likely arrived in an inadequately inspected cargo shipment sometime in the 1950s. Snake traps, snake-sniffing dogs, and snake-hunting inspectors have all helped control the population, but the snakes have proved especially hardy and now infest the entire island. Guam is home to an estimated 2 million of the reptiles, which in some areas reaches a density of 13,000 per square mile. 13,000 of these snakes per square mile. Good Lord. That's more concentrated than even the Amazonian rainforests, according to the government. But the brown tree snake has an Achilles heel, apparently, Tylenol. For some reason, the snakes are almost uniquely sensitive to acetaminophen, the active ingredient in the ubiquitous over-the-counter painkiller. If you can get a tree snake to eat just 80 milligrams of it, you can kill it. That's about 1/6 of a standard pill. Pigs, dogs, and other similarly sized animals would have to eat about 500 of the baited mice to get a lethal dose. Brown tree snakes also love mice. It's easy to bait mice with acetaminophen, but how do you deliver the mice to the snakes? The process is quite simple. Of course, helicopters make a low altitude flight over the base's forested areas, dropping their furry little bundles on time sequence. Each mouse is laced with a deadly microdose of acetaminophen and strung up to 2 pieces of cardboard and green tissue paper. The cardboard is heavier than the tissue paper and opens up in an inverted horseshoe. It then floats down and ultimately hangs up in the trees of the forest canopy. Once it's hung in the forest canopy, snakes have the opportunity to consume the bait. Wildlife workers do have a way to chart how well the mice work. In addition to acetaminophen and the parachutes, some of the poisoned pets also come equipped with tiny data-transmitting radios. Now, I read this, and I had to stop and laugh for a minute. The mental image I got of looking up. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plant. Whoa. It's mice. On tiny little parachutes. Dead mice. And where'd they get the dead mice?
I don't want to know.
I don't either. But it pops up in my head. Unbidden. Yes. I got to wonder. And I got to tell you. Why are we fighting this for Guam? I know it's a U.S. territory.
Yes. Maybe they're worried about, this problem making its way this way.
They're an island.
There's a lot of travel between that island and here.
It's an island. They can't swim that far. And my question is, who?
But they can get aboard a plane.
Who inadequately inspected the cargo that let them get loose in the first place? That's who I'd be after. See?
Yeah.
I'm just mean that way. I don't let a thing like that go. I will find you. I'll find your mama. I'll find your mama's mama. Yeah, I'll find you. That's just the way it works. This is my tax dollars, for heaven's sakes. I'm paying for 2,000 dead mice full of Tylenol and little parachutes. Yeah, just something to think about. Now, for all the people who think that the government takes care of us, keeps us safe, looks out for us, would never let anything bad happen to us knowingly, you're living in a fool's paradise, to put it mildly. A U.S. Food and Drug Administration report says that the Idaho State Department of Agriculture detected abnormalities in yogurt at a Chobani facility 2 months before the company issued a recall. But the state officials say that's not true. Yeah. Chobani told grocery stores in late August to destroy 35 varieties of yogurt reported to have been contaminated by a mold associated with dairy products. More than 300 people reported getting sick after eating Greek yogurt produced in Twin Falls. Now, Chobani yogurt, that's really popular right now. It's big. It's a Greek yogurt, and it's very popular. Now, the FDA report obtained by the Times News under Freedom of Information Act request says that a state lab technician spotted visible defects, that means they saw mold in it, and a yeast-like growth developing in samples pulled from the factory line in July. Yeah. A month before. The company then launched an equipment cleaning regime and later did more testing that identified mold growth, according to the FDA report. State officials deny the FDA's claim. Agriculture Department spokeswoman Pamela Juker said Thursday that state regulators never detected the yeast-like substance during the routine inspection in July and don't know where the FDA got their information. Well, that just sounds like a cat fight there.
Something.
People,
Ew.
Don't they work on the same side?
You'd think.
Yeah.
They're supposed to.
This is almost sounding like, I don't know, the Agriculture Department is in with the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Now, Juker said the Department of Agriculture is only authorized to test yogurt products for the presence of coliform bacteria, and samples of finished product collected and tested by the state agency did not show visible signs of mold. She also said the FDA report did not rely on the agency's lab reports. Now, all of the raw and finished product testing results met the requirements of the pasteurized milk ordinance. All the tests were done, met the requirements. Juker said that since Chobani began making yogurt in Twin Falls in 2012, the company has met government standards for coliform. Now, my question in all of this is the Department of Agriculture can argue with the FDA that no, there wasn't anything there. And I don't know where you're getting your information, and I don't know why you're telling people this. However, it doesn't change the fact. 300 people got sick. How would they explain that? 300 people got sick from this coliform bacteria. You know, it's the old actions speak louder than words. Well, in this case, results speak louder than what they're saying. Yeah, that really kind of amazed me. Just blew me away. I'm like, these are the people who are hired and paid. They have an enormous budget to keep us safe and keep our food in this country, our food supply safe, so we can rest comfortably when we buy something at the grocery store. It's not going to make us sick. Aren't I silly? Yeah. Now, you want to talk about something absolutely amazing. As far as I'm concerned, this is right up there with the Christmas miracle. It really is. Out of Lagos, Nigeria, entombed at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean in an upended tugboat for 3 days, Harrison Okoni begged God for a miracle. The Nigerian cook survived by breathing an ever-dwindling supply of oxygen in an air pocket. To this day, Okoni believes his rescue after 72 hours underwater at a depth of about 100 feet. 100 feet underwater. 72 hours. 100 feet underwater. He believes it's a sign of divine deliverance. The other 11 seamen aboard the Jackson 4 died. Did you see that video?
I watched a little part of it, and I'm sorry, I couldn't have been the diver that
the
reached
hand?
it. Yeah, the hand.
The hand that came out, and they thought it was a corpse.
Until it grabbed him.
Grabbed him back.
Yeah, my wetsuit would have been full of something else.
I made that comment too. Yeah, it'd be more than just.
But it is amazing, that he was able to,
He was a cook.
Yep.
On the tugboat, and somehow or another, he managed to hold out in this little air pocket that he found. Now, divers sent to the scene were looking for only bodies. They had no clue anybody had survived this.
Yep. It's break time, lady.
Well, be that way.
Okay, we can make it go late.
More on this when we get back. We'll be back in just a second.
Hey, sports fans, have you ever wished there was a live and local all-sports broadcasting network, but wish no more? It's ISPNSports.com, Kitsap's only live and local all-sports 24-hour broadcasting network, featuring the Kitsap Blue Jackets, Olympic College Rangers, high school athletics, and the ISPN Sports Show every Saturday morning from 10 to noon with interviews from exclusive guests from around the Sound. So, you want sports? Go to ISPNSports.com.
Toad House Pizza Pub at 1405 McWilliams Road isn't just a pizza place. It's the feel of an authentic East Coast pizzeria pub right in East Bremerton. From gourmet pizza to salad, Toad House Pizza Pub is an experience like no other. With over 120 beers on hand, you'll find exactly what you're looking for. Toad House Pizza Pub, a family restaurant offering dine-in, outdoor seating, or just take-out. Toad House Pizza Pub, a pizza pub like no other.
Hi, this is Stephen Gardner from the Kitsap Sun. There are 3 things we try to do on the Kitsap Caucus blog. Give you more about the story that didn't fit in the regular piece. Give you the story behind the story. We also try to draw attention to other news you might have missed. And sometimes, I like to poke fun at Port Orchard. Read the Kitsap Caucus blog at thekitsapsun.com.
Located 3520 Kitsap Way in Bremerton, Arnold's Home Furnishing has been serving the Kitsap County community since 1951. For nearly 60 years, Arnold's has been here taking care of its customers with excellent customer service and quality merchandise you'll find nowhere else. And visit arnoldshomefurnishing.com to view all the merchandise available and see their current promotions. Arnold's Home Furnishing, to fit every lifestyle and budget.
For more than 100 years, the Woodland Park Zoo has been a cherished community resource and a unique urban oasis. Generations of Puget Sound families have come to the Woodland Park Zoo to marvel at the animals and be inspired by the peaceful and beautiful surroundings. Visit the Woodland Park Zoo today or make a tax-deductible donation to support the Woodland Park Zoo. Visit zoo.org and find out all the great things going on at the Woodland Park Zoo.
Paladin Data Systems is in the business of successful technology product deployment. Paladin Data Systems provides information management products and solutions to government agencies and others that need a trusted, experienced technology partner. Paladin's core philosophy is simple: do right, do our best, and treat others the way we would like to be treated. Paladin Data Systems is also a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Find out more about Paladin Data Systems online at paladindata.com. Paladin Data Systems. Innovation, integrity, results.
And welcome back to the Raw Nerve on Edge Media Source. It's our final half hour. Take you right back to your host. Here's Susan C.
Thanks, Dennis. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Oh, well, we were talking before that break there of this miracle at the 100 feet under the Atlantic Ocean. It's just mind-boggling. This man, who's a cook on a tugboat, woke up early one day, went to the bathroom. While he was in the bathroom, the boat lurched and keeled over, completely upside down. The boat sank. It was 100 feet underwater when rescuers got there. The rescuers took them 72 hours to get there after the boat sank because they came from a neighboring oil rig. Well, as they were the closest people to get to them. And they were there after 72 hours for a body recovery. You know, they're just recovering bodies. They had already pulled up 4 dead bodies.
Yep.
They knew there were 11 people on the boat. They see a hand come up through a hatch.
Through the murky water.
Through that murky, cloudy water. They assumed it was another corpse. So the guy goes to grab it. And holy God, it crabbed him back. Could you imagine?
Nope.
He said it was the most frightening thing for all of them. Even the people that were on the other ship monitoring this on
the
screens, they jumped. Couldn't believe that there was anybody alive in there. 72 hours, 100 feet underwater. Yeah.
Yeah, there would have been a lot of bubbles coming out because between me screaming and pooping my drawers.
Yep. I'd have been more than just scared. Yes, I would. I'll tell you, it's amazing. The guy's trapped. He didn't know what was happening. It was a shock for the diver, of course. On the video, there's an exclamation of fear and shock from Okini's rescuer, and in joy, his realization sets in. Okini recalls hearing, "There's a survivor. He's alive." I'm sure they were delirious because they've been pulling up these dead bodies. And I got to this isn't what these guys do. These guys are oil rig workers. They just got drafted to help out in an emergency because they were closest.
Exactly.
These poor guys. But Mr. Okini, the guy who survived, he was in the toilet. He went upside down and says, "I was dazed and everywhere was dark, and I was thrown from one end of the small cubicle to another." And he groped his way out of the toilet tried to find a vent, propping doors open as he moved on. He discovered some tools and a life vest with 2 flashlights, which he stuffed into his shorts. He wondered about his colleagues, 10 Nigerians and the Ukrainian captain, including 4 young cadets from Nigeria's Maritime Academy. They would have locked themselves into their cabins, which is standard procedure in an area stalked by pirates. That's probably what killed them, too. Being locked in their cabins. He got really worried when he heard the sound of fish. Shark or barracuda, he supposed, eating and fighting over something big. As the waters rose, he made a rack on top of a platform and piled 2 mattresses on top of that. He survived off just 1 bottle of Coke, so the fresh water, fresh anything to drink, he had for 72 days. And all he had to, that was all he had to sustain him. He really thought he was going to die, he told the news agencies, when he heard the sound of a boat engine and an anchor dropping, but failed to get the attention of rescuers. He figured, given the size of the boat, that it would take a miracle for a diver to locate him. So he waded across the cabin, stripped the wall down to its steel body, and then knocked on it with a hammer. But I heard them moving away. They were far away from where I was. And by the time he was saved, relatives had already been told the sailors were dead. He was rescued by a diver who first used hot water to warm him up, then attached him to an oxygen mask. And once free of the sunken boat, he was put into a decompression chamber and then safely returned to the surface. Wow. It's a miracle. I'm telling you, the hand of God was holding that man.
Something.
100 feet for 72 hours underwater. Freezing? Oh, my Lord. I don't care if it's off Nigeria. That would still be very, very cold water.
Yep.
He'd been in the water so long his skin was starting to slough off from exposure to the salt water. Skin does not hold up well to things like that. And they found this man. And I'm just, that was amazing. I saw the video, and I jumped to when I saw him grab back. But it was amazing. And I just love stories like that. It just let you know good things happen in this world. You just got to have faith and believe. Speaking of having faith, biggest faith breakers on the face of the planet, McDonald's. What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? Now, I will grant you, it's really sad when people have to protest trying to get a living wage working at McDonald's. On the other hand, to be fair, flipping burgers should not be a career choice. When I was a kid and I was in high school, a lot of other kids like me got jobs at McDonald's flipping burgers for summer money, getting money to go to college, whatever. But it was always known to be an entry-level job. Okay? It's rare and far between that you get into management in these things. And when you do, you can make really good money. I mean, really good money. But that's only for the big boys. The average worker at McDonald's, not so much. But they've done it again. I reported before about McDonald's giving their employees stupid, idiotic advice about how to get through the holidays.
Yeah, I remember.
Selling their, anything you have that you don't want, sell it on eBay for extra money. Really? That's the best you can do. Yeah. Well, fast food giant McDonald's has committed another employee advice blunder, listing pricey suggestions for tipping, get this, au pairs, personal fitness trainers, and pool cleaners on its worker resource website. Now, their employees have a lot of au pairs, personal fitness trainers, and pool cleaners. Right? Yeah. This advice comes from fast food workers from 100 cities across the nation push for $15 an hour pay, a far cry from the wages most earn. This is what they're striking for across the country. The tipping guide from etiquette maven Emily Post on McDonald's website lists several high-ticket suggestions for giving during the holiday season, including a gift from your family or 1 week's pay, plus a small gift from your child for an au pair. Now, an au pair is a fancy term for nanny. We all have nannies, don't we? Yeah. Yeah. The only place I ever see a nanny is in Mary Poppins. That's it. But you're supposed to give her a week's pay and a gift from your family. Yeah. Now, for a housekeeper, you give them 1 day's pay and a cost of 1 cleaning for a pool cleaner. The site also lists suggestions for dog walkers, massage therapists, and personal fitness trainers. In an email, this cracked me up. An email to CNBC, McDonald's spokeswoman Lisa McComb said this content is provided by third-party partner and quotes from one of the best-known etiquette gurus, Emily Post. We continue to review the resource and will ask the vendor to make changes as needed. Now, in total, the tips adds up to hundreds, if not more than $1,000 in gift suggestions for McDonald's workers, many of whom earn just above minimum wage. The vast majority of them, it should say. To be fair, though, the restaurant chain does advise employees what you give, if anything at all, should be dedicated or dictated by a relationship with the service person. In other words, if you really like them and you got good service, you tip them more. Now, how often you utilize the services, and most importantly, your budget. This just cracks me up because McDonald's has these in-house reference sites that you can go to get all kinds of advice in your life. How to invest, how to spend your money, how to make money, how to survive on, whatever. Not one of these sites really addresses the fact that the vast majority of people working for McDonald's makes minimum wage, which across the country, Washington State has a higher minimum wage than the nation. The rest of the country, I believe, is $7.12 an hour. Yeah. You're going to hire an au pair on that. And visit a massage therapist. Oh, yeah. And you have your housekeeper and, pool cleaner. Stuff like that just absolutely ticks me off to no end. Because it's insulting because it minimalizes the worker. It's almost a slap in the face to the average McDonald's worker. Yes, they have some employees that make a lot more than that, but they're fewer and much further between than the average burger flipper. Yeah. But it's not rocket science either. $15 is a bit much, boys. Now, this was one I couldn't blame the guy. Absolutely, I can't blame him. Renee Vid Colburn, a spokeswoman for the Pennsylvania Turnpike, said airplane landings are uncommon, but charges like the one Nicholson incurred are not. Okay? Out of Pittsburgh, a pilot who landed his small plane on a rural stretch of the Pennsylvania Turnpike after his propeller fell off is protesting a $3,000 bill he received for towing his aircraft from the roadway, saying such fees could cause other pilots to seek out more dangerous emergency landing options. Now, the pilot, Brian Nicholson, said he and a co-pilot made a snap decision to land on an expressway near California, Pennsylvania, about 36 miles south of Pittsburgh. We only had a few minutes before we became a projectile heading towards the earth, he said, a former high school teacher from Upper Spears, Pennsylvania. He landed the aircraft safely and pulled it off the roadway without injury to anyone. Renee Vid Colburn, the spokeswoman for Pennsylvania Turnpike, said airplane landings are uncommon, but charges like one Nicholson incurred are not. We treat it like any other accident, Colburn said, explaining that anyone who gets towed from the highway or is assisted by Turnpike personnel pays a fee. What Nicholson is being billed for is nowhere close to the highest fee, she said, recalling a tar spill from 2011, which the charges topped $50,000. Now, I can see their point. I really do. I can see their point. However, at this point, the man's propeller fell off his airplane. Okay? This isn't the guy, ran out of gas because he's too stupid to make sure he had enough gas to get where he was going. His propeller fell off. I'd call him a hero for landing it safely and not killing anybody. Whatever happened to calling somebody a hero who does something amazing? And that's pretty flippin' amazing. Maybe it's just me. $3,000. $3,000. I don't get it. Like I say, maybe it's just me. Okay, getting serious here. This made me angry. The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution protects all citizens from an unreasonable search. It says so right there. You are protected from unreasonable search. Now you tell me, using your yardstick, whether or not this measures up to meeting that goal. Some drivers along a busy Fort Worth street on Friday, this was a couple of weeks ago, were stopped at a police roadblock and directed to a parking lot where they were asked by federal contractors for samples of their breath, saliva, and even blood. I kid you not. It was part of a government research study aimed at determining the number of drunken or drug-impaired drivers on the road. It just doesn't seem right that you can be forced off the road when you're not doing anything wrong, said Kim Cope, who said she was on her lunch break when she was forced to pull over at the roadblock on Beach Street in North Fort Worth. The National Highway Safety Administration, which is spending $7.9 million on the survey over 3 years, said the participation was 100% voluntary and anonymous. But Cope said it didn't feel very voluntary to her, despite signs saying it was. I gestured to the guy in front that I just wanted to go straight, but he wouldn't let me and forced me into that parking spot. Once parked, she couldn't believe what she was asked next. They were asking for cheek swabs. They would give you $10 for that. And also, if you let them take your blood, they would pay you $50 for that. Excuse me. At the very least, she said they wanted to test her breath for alcohol. She said she felt trapped, and I can see why she would. I finally did the breathalyzer test just because I thought that would be the easiest way to be able to just leave. She said, adding that she received no money for doing it. Fort Worth police earlier said they could not immediately find any record of officer involvement, but police spokesman Sergeant Kelly Peel said Thursday that the Department of Traffic Division coordinated with the NHTSA on the use of off-duty officers after the agency asked for help with the survey. We are reviewing the actions of all police personnel involved to ensure that Fort Worth Police Department, agencies, and procedures were followed. We apologize if any of our drivers and citizens were offended or inconvenienced by the National Roadside Survey. A spokesman for the police in the nearby Holton City said his department was not involved. Now, NBC confirmed that the survey was done by a government contractor, the Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation, which is based in Culverton, Maryland. A company spokeswoman referred questions to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. An agency spokeswoman sent an email confirming that the government is conducting the surveys in 30 cities across the country in an effort to reduce impaired driving accidents. 30 cities across the country they're doing this in right now. Now, she did not respond to any other email from the NBC asking for specific questions about the program, but a Fort Worth attorney who is an expert in civil liberties law questioned whether such stops are constitutional. Hello? What did I just say? You cannot just be pulled over randomly or for no reason, according to attorney Frank Colosi. He also noted that the fine print on the form given to drivers informs them their breath was tested by passive alcohol sensor readings before the consent process had been completed. That's unconstitutional as well. They're essentially lying to you when they say that it's completely voluntary because they're testing you at that moment. He also questioned the results of the voluntary survey, speculating the drivers who've been drinking or using drugs would be more inclined to simply decline to participate. Cope said she was troubled by what happened. It just doesn't seem right that they should not be able to do it. If it's voluntary, it's voluntary. And none of it felt voluntary to her. Now, imagine that. You're driving along, minding your own business, haven't done a thing wrong. There's a roadblock up ahead. And they're telling you that there's this voluntary research study going on. And please, pull over into the space over here and you'll be paid. Blah, 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 blah. When you try to say, no, I'd rather not, because, it's voluntary, you still get pressured to the point that she ended up in a parking spot. Does that sound very constitutionally right to you? No. This is wrong on so many levels, I can't even start to count them. You don't ask for voluntary blood draws. If somebody wants to voluntarily do a blood draw and get money, they can go to a blood bank. Yeah. This is an idiotic waste of taxpayer money, and it is so wrong. I just cannot begin to tell you how very wrong it is. And it makes me very angry. And I'll tell you one thing. If that had ever happened to me, no. Absolutely not. You can shoot my voluntary ass back to the line. No. That made me so angry I couldn't see straight. Because of the way that woman was treated. And I'm sure if she was treated that way, other people were treated that way as well. I'm not stupid. Although agencies like this like to treat us as if we were. A fact that also infuriates me no end. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Now, this is kind of interesting. I used to joke. Okay, I used to joke that I'm sure at one point I was really destined to be a princess. I wanted the pony and the unicorn and all that too. Yeah. The pointy hat, But I'm telling you, some people really, really, really missed the boat. A Japanese man, get this, who was born to wealthy parents has been awarded about $371,000. Why? For damages. After accidentally being switched at birth with another baby and spending decades living in poverty. Seriously. It was almost 60 years before a DNA test revealed the life-changing mistake by a hospital worker who had bathed the newborns and returned them to the wrong mothers. The men spent decades living each other's lives. One man living on welfare checks before working as a truck driver. The other enjoying a private education, now running his own real estate business. I feel regret and also anger the poverty-stricken man who has withheld his identity told a press conference on Wednesday. I want them to turn back the clock. Okay, they can't turn back the clock. That's it, okay? But I have a question for this guy. Okay, you got your $371,000 because somebody made a mistake and you had to grow up poor. Okay, that's not fun. It's no bed of roses, Lord knows. But I'll bet you one thing. I bet you had parents who loved you. I bet you had parents who supported you and did the best they could by you. What message are you sending to parents who thought they were loving you, their child, all these years, scrimping and saving and doing the best they could by them? How do you think they felt when he turns around and sues? Because, I wanted to be the rich guy. I didn't want you for parents. I wanted them for parents because they have money. What a nice message. Put that on a Hallmark card. Whew. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. Well, apparently, the gentleman that got the money, instead of a life of affluence for which he was destined, the man lived off welfare checks and grew up in a small apartment which had no electrical appliances. His given mother raised him and two siblings after their father died when he was 2. Let's not show any appreciation for that and what she must have had to go through to raise you 3 boys as a widow. The other baby grew up as the eldest of 4 siblings in a well-off family. He received private tutoring and went to university. The error was uncovered in 2009 after the wealthy family realized that one of the 4 brothers did not share the likeness and requested a DNA test. So they decided this one kid doesn't quite look like the rest of us. So let's run and get a DNA test. Really? Okay. This whole family is so messed up. It's mess up on top of mess up on weird people. Now, after they found out that they were not related, they searched hospital records and eventually found their true brother in 2011. The man who grew up in poverty never knew his real parents. When I found out about my true parents, I wish I was brought up by them, he said. That's the truth. When I was handed the photograph of my real parents, it made me want to see them. Every time I see their photograph for several months, tears would well up. According to Britain's Telegraph newspaper, Judge, I'm not even going to try it, told the court that it was impossible to assess the scale of pain and disappointment both of the parents and the man had to suffer, as they were deprived of opportunities to enjoy their parent-child relationship forever. The impoverished man now goes out to drinks with his real brothers once a month, while taking care of the elder brother with whom he grew up. What a sport. Sounds to me, I'm sorry. This sounds to me like the guy that got the money for being switched. His whole attitude with the family that raised him unknowingly. His whole attitude was, see ya. Don't call me, I'll call you. It's been real. Wow. What a sterling human being. Fine character, that guy. God. I suppose a guy that was supposed to be raised by the poor family is just tickled it didn't work out that way, too. It just makes me wonder. A lot of things do. But it makes me wonder how people can go publicly and basically give a slap to the face to the people who scrimped, who saved, who worked to feed you, to raise you, to educate you, to do whatever they could for you. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. Oh, and one interesting thing that I found. Everybody talks about how awful it is to take an airplane flight with screaming, crying kids. You think that's bad? Hang on to your hats. Airline passengers have already been stripped of their legroom, hot meals, and personal space. Now they might lose their silence. The Federal Communications Commission is considering lifting its longtime prohibition on making cell phone calls on airplanes, saying it's time to review our outdated and restrictive rules. I'll tell you, now you're going to be putting up with sitting there in these tiny little cramped seats, and they are so cramped now. You're sitting like this. So you're sitting between two people. This gal over here is on the phone to somebody complaining about her boyfriend cheating on her, and this guy over here is on the phone to his bank manager because his investments haven't paid off the way he wants, and you're stuck in the middle listening to this all the way to Toledo. No. Come on. It's hard enough to get people to turn off cell phones in a movie theater. They're going to go crazy if you allow them to do it on airplanes. No, I don't want to hear it. No, it scares me. It really does. I've had some horrible flights where I was stuck sitting next to the baby that cried, the kid behind me that was kicking my seat all the way to wherever it was I was going. You bet. But I'll tell you, they pass this and they allow people to use their cell phones. We're going to find a whole new ring to Dante's hell. I'm telling you, we will. And it's in the air. Well, I'll tell you what, we're about at the end of my time for tonight. Hope you all having a great day. Be sure and stay tuned for the Outlaw Radio Network with K-Dog and St. Paul, the Voice of Reason. And I'll tell you what, try to stay warm. Try to stay dry. It's going to be hard. So, Dennis.
Yes?
Did you get your house warmed up?
Kinda.
It's
warmer than it is outside.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the whole trick.
I can still feel the breeze, though.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? You've been sitting in your living room, and I had to do that at my house, and I can feel a breeze.
Yeah.
But there is nowhere the breeze could be coming from.
Oh, my poor little house. There's all kinds of places they could be coming from.
My daughter's boyfriend says we have a ghost. That's the cold breeze we feel. And I'm like, it's December. It's freezing outside. I think that's where the cold's coming from.
Probably.
Just my opinion. It's just what I think. But what can I tell you? It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. Well, I tell you what, we've got two more shows before Christmas.
Yeah, sure do.
So now I'm going to be trying to sort of tailor the show to Christmas theme. And we're going to have some fun with that. I hope you all have a great week. I'll see you next week. How far out are we? What am I looking at?
We got about a minute.
About a minute. Oh, good.
So we're up on the bump. So
we are. Wow, I'm doing good. I'm getting better in my old age. I'm telling you, I'm ripening. But I'll tell you what. Try to stay warm. Try to avoid this weather. It's a killer, literally. I'll see you next week. If you have a dog or a cat, let them in. It's too cold out there. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Barbara Klein. Thousands of flights are canceled across the country because of wintry weather, leaving many travelers frustrated for yet another day. The tracking website FlightAware.com estimates nearly 2,200 flights have been canceled nationwide as of this afternoon. It follows 2 days of similar travel disruptions. NPR's Paul Brown is at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport outside D.C.
When I dropped a passenger at Reagan National for a flight out, the crowds weren't huge, but neither was the air traffic.